Donald, tremendous news this morning. Scottish Government continuing its investment in cashback for communities, funding for Scottish Rugby. What does this mean for Scottish Rugby?
This core funding for the Scottish Rugby allows us to grow the game from below through our schools of rugby, through our development officers and through our clubs. It's incredibly important, and it has been invaluable over the last 5 or 6 years.
Mr MacAskill, the funding that you've announced today continues funding that started 5 years ago with this particular project. What difference do you find Cashback for Communities is making for young people in Scotland?
Well, I think it's growing the game, and I think it's developing the clubs, and I see that here in Ayrshire, as I've seen it elsewhere, whether in Shetland, in the Borders, or indeed central Scotland. We're seeing youngsters in schools that perhaps weren't traditionally rugby schools playing the game. I've just been speaking to the head teacher at Carrick Academy. 41% of the boys playing rugby, and that was an area where actually traditionally rugby might have lost out to football, but the game has been taken to the heart of that school. The club has just got promotion this year, and that's been replicated across the county, and we're seeing 500 kids here today for a tournament that they'll recall for the rest of their lives. But what we have to do as a government, in partnership, as the President has said, with local authorities, is to play our part in supporting the SRU to grow the game, because not only does it help the game, it helps the school, it helps the community. And I think Carrick embodied that from stories I've just been told.
Neil, Cashback for Communities, it's 5 years that this initiative's been ongoing now. What difference does it make to Scottish Rugby?
Really, it's been vital in allowing us to do more partnership working with our clubs, schools, local authorities. That's why we've been able to deploy a network of 85 rugby development officers working with clubs from Shetland down to Dumfries and Galloway. It's those key professionals that engage youngsters in rugby and ensure that they progress into teams in their schools, teams playing for a local club like Kilmarnock here, and that's how we'll grow the game gradually and steadily over the long term. Cashback is absolutely fundamental to that model, but it's also allowed us to innovate. We've got to use rugby in different ways to engage young people, challenging young people, kids who are tempted to get up to antisocial behaviour and the like, and Cashback's allowed us to do that through street rugby referral groups. But also about trying to strengthen rugby in our state secondary schools. The School of Rugby is an excellent model. It's reminding people how important, how valuable rugby can be to the educational experience, to attainment, to attendance. And so that's what this means for us.